All right, welcome back to another live. I'm Joseph Lewin, and today I'm joined by the awesome Kim Angeli. Kim, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Yeah, we're getting started a couple minutes later than planned because I had technical difficulties, but ended up swapping some camera things around, and that's why I'm showing up on the vertical instead of my normal look here. But I'm really excited to have Kim on because she focuses on building relationships and getting referrals and really taking a much more relational approach to sales and marketing. And anytime that there's somebody who has grown businesses and been extremely successful by taking a different path, not cold calling people and figuring out how we can maximize how many transactions we can get from different people, but instead focusing on how do we add value, how do we give more than we take from the market. And Kim does that in a really unique way by having gratitude and focusing on gratitude, not only for new business that comes in, but also really focusing a lot on existing clients and how do you take care of your existing clients effectively. So Kim, when 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 you've been focusing on gratitude and doing that, I know you've had some massive successes in that. So what's the wildest opportunity that's come for you from focusing on having gratitude?
Well, you sent me that question early. And no, in my 30 years of sales that I celebrate this month, I've never done a cold call. No, never did. Neither did the people that trained me. So I thought about this, and in 2019, I'm a Jack Canfield certified trainer. And I had a client who wanted to go to an event he was having in Philadelphia. And so we met in Philadelphia in 2019. And if I have the opportunity to stay in a Ritz-Carlton hotel, I'm going to stay there. So my client, Renee, and I went to the One Day to Greatness, and I was at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia. And if you didn't know, it is a bank. It used to be a bank. It's an amazing lobby. It's gorgeous. It has the best guacamole I've probably eaten outside of Mexico. And on my journey through life, I am always thanking. So some people say, always be promoting. I say, always be thanking, right? Because I watched my parents do it. I learned it. I'm always thanking. So I always have like little thank you notes with me or birthday cards. So if I run into somebody who has a birthday, I might hand them a birthday card randomly. So I'm staying in this Ritz-Carlton, and I am going to visit my client Reminder Media in King of Prussia. So I checked myself out of the Ritz-Carlton, and I was going to stay at the King of Prussia hotel. Well, long story short, when I went to go check into the Marriott for King of Prussia, it wasn't available. So on my journey through the Ritz-Carlton, staying there the night before, I'm just being grateful. All the time, to the concierge. I have this entire process where you should call the concierge before you go on a trip and befriend them and get to know them because they know everything going on in the town or in the hotel, and they can be your advocate. They can be your guide if you need them. So I got to the King of Prussia hotel, and the guy said, "We don't have any rooms." And I said, "I'm certainly not going to sleep in that Cadillac I rented." So I called the Ritz-Carlton, and I got the concierge. And I learned that there was a teachers conference, and every hotel in the city was booked, every hotel room. And so the concierge guy said, "We will find you a room. Just head back here. I'm going to connect you with Rose." So I got connected with Rose, and she said, "Just head back to the hotel. We will take care of you, Miss Angeli. We will make this happen." So I get back to the hotel, and I go up to the registration desk, and they said, "Your room is not ready yet." And I said, "Okay." So they called me, and my room was ready. And long story short, I got an $8,000 a night room on the 33rd floor of the Ritz-Carlton for the nightly rate I paid before. And I met one of my most fabulous relationships because while I posted from Facebook that I was in the Ritz-Carlton, my friend Dawn Graff, my daughter's music teacher at Thales Academy, messaged me and said, "Sarah Goodman, my friend, is there, and her daughter goes to Thales Academy too." It's a connection, right? We're always connecting. We have connections. So I reached out to Sarah and said, oh my gosh, I found myself on the 33rd floor of the Ritz, which she was staying in. And I said, please come up here with me and have some snacks and drink and bring your daughter. And so I just texted Sarah yesterday. We've been friends since 2019. She's a client of mine. She's a friend of mine. She's been to my retreats. And all of that started with a thank you note to the concierge.
I love it.
All of that. And I met this amazing girl in the concierge room. So if you don't know, the Ritz-Carltons, I've saved in them, randomly. I love them. Some of them have these big top floors and, people go up there and they network or they connect. I hate to say the word network. It sounds cold and boring. And they connect. And I met this girl, Leslie Lowe, and she's still someone I follow. But Sarah was someone I connected with at that Ritz-Carlton, and we are friends today. And it all started with thanking the concierge. And when I called down, because I was like, I handed them a really good American Express that has a very large limit on it. But when I called down there and I said, could you tell me how much this room is? He would, Miss Angeli, your rate is what you paid before you checked out. But normal people pay $8,000 a night to stay in the room you're in.
That's amazing. I love it.
I will never forget that story ever, because when we're always walking in gratitude, when we're always thanking, when we're always tipping, when we're always generous, things come back to us tenfold, because every word of complaining increases your poverty level. Every little complaint you say in business and in life comes back to you in lack. And so how can we be grateful for our customers, right? How are we grateful for our customers? Do we want more amazing customers? Always be grateful. Always be thanking. Always be connecting. Without your own hidden agenda. Because there are people out here, you've met them. Mm-hmm. They want to help you with some little hidden agenda behind themselves. We need to do it without your own agenda, without expectation.
Totally agree. Okay, before we go any further, first of all, Bob, thanks for jumping on. Bob was on.
Go, Bob!
He was giving you a shout out, and I know you can't see it, so I wanted to see. Always be thanking.
He's on the little thing. How did that happen?
So yeah, Bob, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, Kim, you're really making a great point there. And I think as I meet people who are really successful in business, sure, there's people out there who have cheated their way to the top, but even if they're successful in business, in that case, they're going to be in lack in another area of their life. So they're not the kind of people that I would want to imitate. Like, even if they can make millions of dollars, but they're causing misery or they're miserable in other areas, it's not something that we want to repeat. But then you meet other people, and you and I met somebody recently, both of us did, and you meet these people who are super successful, and they have this attitude, kind of like you're saying, of gratitude, of being thankful, of looking for ways to help and add value. And there's these narratives in the market that, like, oh, the business is cutthroat, and you got to negotiate and try to get the most that you can while giving as little as possible. And there's kind of this characterization in business. But most of the people who I've met who are, for one, some of the most successful people, but for two, people who are actually also happy in their life, their personal life is in line, and they're really successful at business. So they're successful in life, not just successful in business. They have that, they have a similar attitude that you're talking about. But I feel like that narrative isn't really, it doesn't get as much attention as it should. And, something that's interesting that you said is, it's not just doing that activity and going, what am I going to get for it? It's doing that activity as a way of being, as a way of living. And then, you've given thousands of thank you notes, and not every single one of them turns into a stay at the Ritz-Carlton. But when you are just living that way normally, and you're being grateful and you're caring for your clients, for the people around you, then those opportunities, you're like a magnet for referrals, for amazing opportunities. And so, how have you seen having that attitude of gratitude be good for your business or be good for your clients' businesses?
Well, if you're always thanking and you're not attached to outcomes, see, it's the attachment to outcomes that keep people from doing it. And I've had it happen. I've had I teach this a lot. Let's say I have a top real estate agent who, I wants to do a gratitude strategy, or they want to make more money or have more listings. And we send out, a reconnection, relationship, engagement in the mail. And they call me up and they're like, nobody called me. I'm like, well, did you have an attachment to that? Or did you do it out of the kindness of your heart?
Mm.
I think when your head and your heart are attached and you're doing it without attachment, it's the attachment that has the lack.
Yeah.
It's that I'm going to do this for you only because I think there's something truly in it for me in the future. Where I do it without expectation. In fact, people come back to me and they're like, oh, do you remember when so-and-so you did such and I'm like, no, because I'm not attached to it. I give without expectation. And I'm not attached to, did I get anything in return? I believe that source and the universe and God, or whoever you want to call it, is going to bring me abundance, not directly from that person I gave the thank you note to, or the birthday card, or the person. I've gotten people jobs and they come back and they say, oh my gosh, you got my son a job, or my daughter a job, or you got me a job, and it changed my life. I do it out of doing it to do it. To walk in gratitude. I don't do it for the self-serving of Kim. So when you're serving people at your highest self and you get into that energy level of gratitude, which is 900 megahertz, it is actually a scientific measurable vibration. You're not attached to or keeping score. See, people that keep score live in lack. And one of my biggest wins, probably in my career of walking in gratitude and teaching this strategy, is taking someone who all they did was measure ROI a year ago, for them to say, now I'm doing it without the attachment to the ROI. That has been my biggest win, is because I told him on a call this week, ROI is really relationships over income. Relationships have impact. And these people that are always like, well, I did this, but I want to track the ROI. That's where they get stuck. And you find that they really don't live in abundance. They're living in lack, and they're working really hard to bring business into their business because they're keeping score at every moment. And you can't do that when you're in gratitude.
Yeah. I mean, and this really plays into, so what I've been teaching people to do for the last little while is to build relationships with people that are super connectors, or, people who are people that you want to know. But when you take that approach, you have to, when you're going to use those tactics that I'm teaching, if you take the transactional approach when you're doing it, the other person's going to feel that instantaneously.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
it's really not going to work. But if you go into every conversation where you're just saying, hey, look, the more people I talk to, the more value I add, the more people I serve, the more opportunities are going to come to me. And so whether I talk to this person on the other end, maybe I get nothing out of it, but what if I could make a connection for them that changes their life, or that helps somebody else that I know in my network that doesn't really impact me at all? But if you're doing that consistently and you're doing it enough, you're going to get tons of opportunity that's going to come in. That's going to be way higher quality opportunities, much better clients that are going to come to you, that you're going to attract naturally if you approach it like that, where you're disconnecting from the outcome. You're not going, okay, I'm going to have 20 people on my show, and then out of those 20, I can expect that 5 of those are going to turn into deals, and then out of those deals, I can project X amount of income. Like, I'm not saying it's completely wrong to make sure that you're doing enough activity to actually pay your bills. Like, there's something to that. But then if you take that to the next kind of natural place that people take it, then you're trying to track the ROI based on every conversation. And when you do that, to your point, you're bringing that transactional mindset into the conversation, and people are not going to recommend you or refer you, or because nobody wants their friend to talk to somebody who they think is going to just push them to buy something they don't want to buy. And if you have that attitude,
Like Bob
that's what you're
says,
projecting.
yeah, like Bob says, nobody's going to buy anything from you because you have a quota. I mean, that's truth, right? They're only going to buy something from you if they feel as if their life is going to be better after they've done business with you.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you, we've been sold a bill of goods there, Joseph. We've been sold that 7,000 Facebook followers and 100,000 YouTube followers will make us money in the bank. And that is the biggest false news I have ever seen, is that one of my top producing real estate clients If you went to her Facebook page right now, you would be like, what? But she shows up for her clients beyond herself.
Mm.
And she does $44 million in a 10-mile radius in the area that I live in.
Wow.
And she shows up in excellence and as a go-giver. It's one of her favorite books. And she hasn't bought into the I've got to be a Facebook fairy TikTok princess to sell homes. She works by referral only.
Wow.
And so we've been sold, you've got to have 100,000. No. I can literally, I am building a $5 million division for a client right now. $5 million division, niched. And we're doing it with 25 relationships. 25 will equal $5 million. Now we're tracking it, but we are seeing that we're going from 10,000 transactions a year in one division to 25 relationships in another one, niched. It will be a $5 million division faster than we thought.
Wow.
So we've been sold that when you dig deep into relationships with the people who already know, like, and trust you, the fruit from that effort is immeasurable beyond your wildest dreams. Because what we're doing is we're connecting, but we're not really connecting. But when you really dig into your relationships, and I say relationships because some of them aren't customers, they're going to bring you clients when they're not paying you.
Yeah.
Is that when you dig into the relationships and really have rooted relationships, you've already met all the people you need to know. You're chasing strangers looking for dollars, and the people you need to know are right in front of you.
Yeah, I want to get into practical steps, but just to kind of go, a little bit further on what you're saying there. I think that's a really powerful point, because when people think about, okay, who do I need to reach to do more business or to, grow my business? Almost always it's going to be, oh, well, you need to talk with more people who are ready to buy right now, who are in market right now for your services. And where that can be true, yeah, I mean, if you're talking to those people, it's possible, but usually at that point they've already defined they already know what they're looking for. And a lot of times if somebody hasn't already made a decision of who they're going to work with when they go to the point to buy, they're usually not the best kind of client anyway. They tend to be much more transactional, whereas somebody who builds a relationship with somebody before they're ready to buy and then they reach out to that person when they're ready to buy, you're just in a much better spot. And so the relationships that you're looking to build, it's not just relationships with potential customers. Like, that is one piece of it, but it's building relationships with the people who you can serve and you can add value to, who are never going to buy from you. And then those people, if you've added value to them, which sometimes that's just being able to make a connection between two people and add value to somebody in your network, there's value in that in and of itself. So in other words, like, if I talk to somebody in my network and they need a job, and I connect them with somebody who's hiring, and they both get a great outcome out of that, that's something that makes me happy, that I enjoy. And so when you find the people who are like that, they get joy and they get value out of the opportunity to connect people. And if they believe that what your business is doing is valuable and they know you're going to treat people right, they're going to be excited to connect you with people, even though they don't get anything out of it. There are people out there that exist like that. Like, you're one of them, Bob's one of them. I'd like to think that I'm in that category too, where it's, you're looking to add value to your network, whether you get anything or not. And if you can build a relationship with those people and you get into a network of people who are like that, it totally changes everything, versus what people are used to is being in a network where everybody's transactional, where they're all looking for what they can get. And when everybody acts that way, it's miserable. Like, nobody wins.
It is miserable.
So figuring out how to build those relationships with people who are more generous, and the only way to do that is to be more generous yourself. And if you want to be around people who have gratitude, you got to have more gratitude yourself, and you end up attracting people who act and think the same way that you do.
And it's having those, I don't think people have great conversations anymore. I was on a call yesterday with someone and I said, they're not they're going to be a customer, but I said, what are you trying to achieve? What is it? What are your big, hairy, audacious goals? Like, what are you trying to move through? Now I'm taking notes. And he's like, well, we're moving. We have 40 of these people now. We want 100. And I said, okay, well, who is an ideal person you're looking to connect with? And send me some information so I can understand your business at a deeper level, so that when I identify someone like that in the marketplace or in my Rolodex or just me wandering the world, I can connect you with them. And I'd already connected the guy with this amazing, that I know for a fact it's going to be amazing, mutually beneficial connection for both the people I connected. Now, what happens is when you connect people, though, Joseph, is now they have a positive fusion point, thanks, Jeff West, with you. And so imagine that you had 25 brand ambassadors walking the globe right now, and every time they heard someone wanted to get more visibility with social media, they're like, oh my gosh, stop. You have to call Joseph. He is a rock star. He knows more than just social selling. He knows all kinds of other things. And they intentionally connected you. I don't mean they slung a business card to someone. They took time out of their life and they mutually connected both of you to make sure the connection was made. And then maybe like me, the guy I connected yesterday, I go into my calendar and I do a calendar invite for myself to follow up with those two people and say, hey, how did it go? Did you connect? What was the result?
Yeah, I love that step.
That's brilliant. And so it's the intention and the making sure that it's not just happen chance that makes people great connectors. And then the secret sauce to all of it, if you never did anything I taught, my $1 million secret is to always thank connectors and referral sources. And this does not happen. And you know why I know it doesn't happen? Why do I know it doesn't happen, Joseph?
Because you don't get thanked for the connections that you make.
I got like 5 thank you notes from connecting people in my lifetime. I mean, they'll text me. That doesn't count. They'll email me. That doesn't count. Like, or I mean, is there's no intention behind it. And so my eye doctor, who does no marketing, zero, every person that she gets referred to her, she sends a thank you note and a $5 Starbucks card. She sent me 17 of them in 1 year. Wow. I'm a walking brand ambassador for her. If someone mentions eyeballs,
I mean, and talk about a low-cost way to be getting $5 card. It's not like she's giving you $100 gift card.
Do they like Starbucks? She's not attached to. She's just sending the thank you note, like just sending it to appreciate the connectors that thought enough of her. Because see, if she gets one of me, I gave her 17 clients. Right. So what did you pay for that? And even my client I was telling you about for real estate, she has an anesthesiologist who literally, if he hears that she wants to, somebody's looking at real, he will chase them down. You have to call this person. And so that's what you really want is one raving fan, one brand advocate is worth 10,000 customers who don't really know what value you bring to the table. But we don't nurture these people well enough. We don't really identify them. In fact, this week I'm working on my A relationship list personally because I do what I teach, right? I'm working on my A relationship list. My power of who list, as Bob Boudin would call it, is because I want to make sure they're being nurtured correctly in the next 12 to 36 months, personally. But that's on me. If I wanted to know Bob Burke, who I met in 2022 in person, it was on me to build a relationship with Bob Burke. Bob Burke certainly didn't need to know any more Kims in his life. He's got enough Kims. That was on me to build a relationship with Bob. Yeah. So my own process is the reason why I'm working with Bob, because I do what I teach.
Yeah. So on that note, what are some practical ways that small business owners listening to this can practice gratitude? What does that look like? Like, what does it look like in practice?
So thank your clients 45 days after they've paid you. And then keep reminding them who you are in gratitude every year. Just don't do the welcome kit. That's where people miss out. Always be thanking them, identifying your top relationships, if it's 10 of them. Always thanking. I've spent a lot of money in the last 60 days on 2 homes that I've remodeled. And of course, my clients sent me gifts that I
Mm.
hired. The other ones who weren't my clients, nothing. So there's no like positive. 68% of people won't do business with you if they don't feel like you care about them. And a lot of people say, well, Kim, you're not going to get flooring for the next how many ever years. Well, it doesn't matter. It's how you made me feel beyond the transaction that makes you referable. I probably won't refer those other vendors, but I'll most definitely refer the ones who cared enough about me to thank me for my $40,000 or my $4,000 beyond the sale. See, we're not going above and beyond. We're taking money and we're chasing strangers. We're taking money, we're chasing strangers. Where are we really connecting and thanking beyond the transaction? It's thanking your customer. And connecting with them ongoing. See, my longest client was 26 years and he just passed away recently. And so every year I was thanking, doing a gratitude call. And if you've never done anything, do two things: do a thank you note and do a gratitude call every year, or have your assistant do a gratitude call to your top relationships.
So break down for me the gratitude call, because I'll just play the typical person when you say that. Okay, cool. I'll call my clients, and they're calling their clients,
I have
and
a
they have
gratitude script because it has nothing to do with selling them anything. So
yeah,
really,
exactly.
yeah,
That's
it's
what I get
really
again.
just calling. And if you have something in your CRM tool, like your clients really matter tool, that where you keep a database of customers, which is something that I find nobody really does, is I say, well, who's a list of your customers or relationships, where are their names and numbers? And that's the hardest step, is who are they? What are their phone numbers and their first names and last names and all that stuff? So let's say that I was going to call and have a conversation with one of my top relationships today, who I have an opportunity to call. I haven't talked to in a while. My A relationship, one of them is Barry Steiger. So I would call Barry and I would say, hey, Barry, just giving you a call. I'm back from Palm Beach. And I know you're going to go see your dad in South Florida. Have you been yet? How's your pizza? He's doing a whole big pizza back the blue donation thing because he runs a marketing for a pizza restaurant. And it's really just a conversation. And it's not like, who can you connect me with, or who can you refer me to? It's just having a conversation with Barry.
Yeah.
It really, and then or I'll say this, I called a client yesterday. It was its 11th year anniversary, 50 years in business pest control. I called him and I wished him happy anniversary. And I said, I had created some things for him. And I said, let's get those posted on social media. And then said, what are you doing? And I'm having a conversation. It's not, oh, it's buy one, get one gratitude marketing day, or,
right.
It's you're calling without an agenda. How many times, Joseph, do you have people call you that don't want something?
Yeah, very rarely.
I'll wait for it. I'll wait a minute.
Yeah,
How
usually just
times,
really good friends.
Yeah, you're like, somebody call you out of the blue. I have this happen to me all the time. Or they'll text me, hey, Kim, how's it going? How's your event? And then I'm waiting for the what do they need? Because I haven't heard from them in 500 moons. So my goal is to keep in touch with people that I care about as human beings ongoing. I mean, there are people that get my magazine. There are people that get birthday cards every year from me. There are people that get thank you notes from me. And one of them, my friend's Mike Hartman, he's like, why do you send that to me every year? I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that you think of me for the last 7 years after you've met me and you keep me on that list of your reach out. He said, but why do you do it? I've never bought anything from you, really. That's what he said. And I said, well, you helped me on one of the darkest moments of my life with my daughter when she didn't make the cheer team. And he didn't even remember it. And I said, so I wanted to make sure as a human being, you felt appreciated from Kim Angeli. And so that's why you're on that list. He's like, oh, okay. And every time he moves, I get his new address. I mean, he's a Stanley Cup New York Rangers winner. And he moved to Jersey one time, and then he moved back to Charlotte. And I'm constantly getting his updated list. I'm very intentional about it. Because he's on my list of people I want to make sure they know that I care about them in life. And that's where I think we've missed out, is we're not keeping in touch with people like that. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think most people go, I don't have time to do that. But then what ends up happening is you spend tons of time and energy and effort, like you're saying, chasing down chasing strangers when you could be building deep relationships with people who already know, like, and trust you, and you've already built a great relationship with them. I mean, the other thing is the deeper relationship that you build, the more leeway somebody will give you when you mess up. I mean, invariably, all of us are going to screw up something with a client relationship where we say something the wrong way, or, you know, uh, accidentally miss a meeting, or whatever the case would be. And if you have already a kind of tenuous relationship and you felt like it was transactional to begin with, you're going to give most people are going to give very little grace in that situation. Like, oh man, this person totally missed a meeting. But if somebody's really gone above and beyond, and they've, cared about you, and maybe they found out something was going on with your kid, and they send you a note about it with a gift card or whatever the case, just actually caring about them as a person. If you miss a meeting, most of the time they're going to be like, oh, no big deal, let's schedule it tomorrow. And it's,
Right.
when you do
Right.
that, it just makes all of your entire relationship with the client significantly better. But I think if I was going to boil down everything that we've talked about and what I've been learning really since we met, it's really detaching yourself from having an agenda. And I think there is I don't want to say a balance there, but I mean, you still sometimes, if you believe what you're doing is really going to help the person on the other end, it's totally okay to say, hey, we should work together, and like, if it makes sense, because that's the best way you can actually serve that person, is you've told me that you need exactly what I have. I designed something exactly for people in your shoes. Is there a reason we're not working together? Like, but that's not having an
Communication.
agenda. It's
Right.
just an
That's not an
extension of what
agenda.
you're
That's
already
an
doing.
invite. Right.
Yeah.
That's an invite. Right.
But then I think, to your point, like, when you go in without an agenda like that, and you're truly looking for how you can add value to the person on the other end, no matter what, it just produces better business results. And like, if you want to be some cutthroat person that buys companies on the cheap and slashes them and, makes 10x income and whatever, go listen to somebody else. But if you want to do something where you're able to make really good money, enjoy your life, be happy, and, do things that are meaningful, building deep relationships with the people you come in contact with is the only way to do that. So if there's, money is going to come your way also, but then there's so many other benefits and values to caring about the people who are around you and treating them decently and with respect that go way beyond money. And the money comes too. the
Right.
opportunities and the money will come at the same time, but you
Well,
get so much more that you'll never get when you're just chasing how is this thank you card I'm sending going to bring business to me? Like, if you think that way, you're not going to get the business and you're not going to build relationships with people that are going to give value in other areas. But if you approach it just, hey, I don't genuinely care about other people, you're going to get basically all the positive things of success are going to come your way.
you get into conversations you might not necessarily get into. Is even after a Zoom call, if I'm not meeting with someone in person, I'll send a thank you note. Thanks for your time. It is your most valuable asset. And I got a very, very nice speaking engagement last year from that one thing. So
Wow.
you could say that I spent, I could tell you multiple stories, but you could say I spent $8 on a card and a Starbucks card to go in the mail, and I got a $5,000 speaking engagement. That wasn't the purpose of the conversation. The fact that I followed up that way put me in a position to be asked. And so what people don't realize, they don't even know it. The money, they're just working really hard, when if they just built the relationships at a deeper level, they would have more opportunities come to them, because they're actually missing opportunities and they don't realize it. They're right under their nose and they never even knew it, because they're out looking out somewhere else. It's just Acres of Diamonds from Earl Nightingale. Nothing I teach is new. It's just that you don't need as many relationships as you think to get to where you want to go. And a lot of people are miserable chasing SEO, chasing funnels, chasing all that stuff, because they bought into it. And their businesses aren't fun and they're not profitable, because they're buying into stuff that doesn't give them results into revenue. I talked to a guy recently and he's like, well, I spent $40,000 on SEO last year, Google Click or whatever, and I can't find one client that came from that. And I actually was a referral to him from my network I got referred to him, and I got a new garage door.
Mm.
One call referral, and I bought a garage door from my network. I said, who knows a garage person?
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, and
I
that's the
want more of
question
that.
that way more people are asking than what businesses care to dig into, which is people ask their friends and their peers first. I mean, most of us
yeah.
only go to do research if we can't talk to somebody we trust. Like, I needed a plumber for something that's going on in the back, and I have a friend who's a great contractor, and the first thing I do is I call him and go, man, I really have this challenge that's going on. I need to find a great plumber who's not going to gouge me. And he's like, got the guy for you. The guy comes out, does great work, understood the situation, and didn't like try to gouge me on it. And I've done more work. And you know who I'm going to refer anytime anybody asks for a plumber?
Right.
Jason Girth is his name. Yeah, I'm going to refer him every single time because he's awesome. And you know that.
We all know we scroll through the sponsored ads. Like we all know that we're scrolling through down to see where the organic Google ones are. If we go to Google, right, we're scrolling through the sponsored ones, and we're going to look at who has the really 5 stars.
Yeah.
Before if we use Google at all. So it's definitely a different everything. Like all the things work. The biggest thing for me is this consistency. People will build their business on these principles, and then they let them go. And a lot of people right now will slow their business down by not doing anything in June, July, and August. And it's the 90-day rule. If you don't stay top of mind and keep in touch with people, 90 days from now, your business will be slower. But yet they'll put their business on hold in June and July. So what is running when you're running your business? What is going out in the mail? What things do you have on your relationship calendar that's going to be done 365 days a year, not just November and December? That's the key. It's the consistency of it that builds the momentum.
I love it. Well, Kim, we could keep going on all day, but we've already gone a little bit over because you just love talking with you. So, man, thank you so much. And, if anybody out there is looking to find somebody who's going to help them build deeper relationships with their customers and be able to have really clear, proven ways to do that, you got to reach out to Kim Angeli. Is it kimangeli.com?
KimAngeli.com.
KimAngeli.com, Angeli. Yeah, so Kim, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And I know we'll have some more conversations soon.
Thanks for having me.